shot going for the knockout, and I won't stop till I'm on top now. Not gonna give up until I get what's mine. Better check that I'm about to attack, and I'm hot now, so you better step back. I'm taking over, so watch me shine.
Hello, my knitting superstars. Welcome to this interview. This is Liat from KnitFreedom, and I'm here with Stacy Stone, who works with me on KnitFreedom to help me write all the promotions for all the new products that I come out with. And she's here to help me do this interview and share with you lots of stuff that's going on. So, hi, Stacy. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
Where should we start?
Well, I think first what I wanted to talk about is why we're here and why we're doing this interview and kind of what you wanted to accomplish and what you wanted to share with your readers.
We are doing this interview because we are doing a webinar coming up shortly in just a few days, and we wanted to get people excited about the webinar because I'm really excited and it's going to be really good. And so I thought of doing a way to connect with my listeners and readers in a little bit of a different way other than a blog post, which we'll do some good blog posts. But I thought that this might be a wonderful way for me to connect. I don't get to connect with my readers as much as I would like to, so that's why we decided to do this audio interview format. This is sort of the first one where I'm actually in charge and not being interviewed by somebody that I don't know in some faraway land.
Yeah, Liat and I know each other really well, so we should get some good stuff. So let's jump into just a little intro about KnitFreedom and what it is and who you are, just for people who, may not have been longtime readers or haven't read your blog before. So tell me a little bit about what is KnitFreedom and why did you create it and what is your mission?
Okay, well, my mission is to help people become knitting superstars, which to me means confident, happy, curious knitters who can knit anything their heart desires, whether they know how to knit it already or not. They have the confidence to know that they can. And we're going to talk about how to get some of these skills during the webinar. I'm going to give my favorite tips. So that is my mission. And the way that I have set out to do that is I created my website, KnitFreedom, which is a place for people to watch high-quality knitting videos that show the techniques that I think the most important techniques that they need to learn. And I'm adding more videos all the time. So it's a place where you can look up your techniques that you don't know how to do when you come to a pattern and you don't know how to do, for instance, a wrap and turn. And you can go on KnitFreedom and look it up.
Why did you choose video? Was there a specific reason that you chose video as the main format?
I chose video because I started out teaching live classes at the different knitting stores that I was working at, and I was having a hard time showing everybody my hands. And I was running around because I really like to give people like one-on-one attention. Everyone has different questions when they knit, and they all have different mess-ups and stuff. And so I was sort of running around being like, oh, yeah, no, it's okay, just fix it like this, here, like this. And I was like, man, if I could just have a huge screen and a camera, then like a jumbotron, then everybody could see what I'm trying to show them. And I could answer everyone's questions. And so when I set out to actually make that my business, that was what that was like the way that I thought to transform my classes into a format that everybody could see. Yeah.
And do you think that, and I know you've told me before, and I think the longtime readers will know from seeing your videos that you felt like there could be a higher bar to your knitting instruction.
Well, I get really frustrated when I go on YouTube. I mean, there's stuff that I don't have videos on yet, or people will say, "Can you make a video on this technique?" And I'll go look it up on YouTube, and I can't even watch.
Yeah.
And I know that my students that were coming to my live classes that I was teaching, like on magic loop and continental knitting and cables, they'd be like, "I tried to look this up, but I do not get it." And then I would go on YouTube and be like, "Oh, it's because the video's blurry," or or just other funny things like the person's feet are in the video or whatever, their dog, or and it's just not clear, and the sound quality's not good, and it's there's too much going on to just settle down and focus on the actual technique. So I thought that it wouldn't be too hard to do it myself, and I actually started out, the first videos that I made were on magic loop and double knitting. Like I discovered, air quotes, magic loop when I was working at a yarn store. I found the little booklet by Beverly Gillespie, where she writes up the technique that was invented by Sarah. I do not know how to pronounce her last name, Sarah H. And I thought it was so cool that I made a video for it. I don't know why. And it was not a very good quality, but I think it still had the ingredients that people were wanting. So maybe I misspoke when I said that it was because the videos that are out there are blurry or whatever. Maybe it's that the way that I happened to explain it was the way that people were hoping to consume it. They were like, "This is what I wanted to see."
I think that's a really good point, because there are certain qualities in your content and in your videos that I think your students really are attached to or excited to see. And and
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are very specific ways that you teach things, and from the comments that we see all the time on the site, people are always saying, like, "I never thought of it that way. And I never knew that you could do it, or that it was that simple." And I think for me that really sums up a lot of your content, that it's really easy to follow, and it teaches people things that they didn't really think about before in a simple way. So,
well, it's important. I mean, people are busy, and they're in the middle of a knitting project usually when they look up the techniques. So it's important that I just cut to the chase and explain how to do it. And it just so happens that the way that I explain knitting stuff, it seems to be a good fit, for other people, and I love that, because it's really easy for me. I love to do it. When I learned how to knit, I didn't have anyone helping me. I learned from a book. And so I had, developed my own understanding about how to think about these different techniques. And it never occurred to me to be confused or afraid or frustrated. But I see a lot of people come up against those different feelings, like different hang-ups that they have about learning and what they expect of themselves. I know if you're listening, like, you'll know if this is you. When you mess up, you go, "Oh, I knew this was too hard for me," or whatever. Or maybe you're, someone else was like the star knitter in the family or something, or your mom was the star knitter and she never helped, bothered to explain stuff in a way that you could understand, made you feel dumb or whatever. And so I get a lot of joy in telling people, "No, everybody can do this. Like, I'll show you how. It's okay. Just watch. I made this video just for you, and there's nothing else going on in the video, and they can actually see my hands, like, from the perspective that they would be looking at their own knitting." So anyway, KnitFreedom has a bunch of videos like that, and then it also has classes like you would get at your yarn store, only different, because I'm not actually there, but you can replay them over and over. And
yeah, but that's actually not true, because I hear and see people saying, like, "I feel like you're sitting right next to me."
Yes, that's the goal. That's the goal. And you know why? Because I have taught a lot of people in person, and so I know what people are going to run into. At least the top mistakes that are going to happen, and so I do make videos on those too. So it's more like responsive than just instructions about how to do something. It's like, yeah, here's how to do it, and here's also what's going to happen when you mess up the first time and the second time, and where you're going to get confused. So that's what KnitFreedom has, and that was a pretty long answer to your question. So let's next one.
So what have you been up to? I know that your readers really want to know, like, what's going on in KnitFreedom land and what's going on in your world personally. Like, what sort of projects are you working on? What's coming up next?
So, what has been going on in Knit Freedom Land? Exciting things. I know that a lot of people, I haven't been blogging hardly, and people are asking me, what are you up to? We miss getting your blogs, and I totally understand. And it will be an easier way for me to update people. So the two things that that Knit Freedom has been working on, that I've been working on for Knit Freedom and only for my readers and students, is a huge website update, like
Yay!
yes, redo.
We can hear everybody listening now just cheering because they're so excited.
A huge update, probably bigger and fancier than I understand maybe it didn't need to be such a big process, but I'm learning, so a huge redo to address all of the issues that people have that make it hard to find the videos they're looking for, and hard to sign in and find your classes, and just, so I learned how to design websites and, designed this new one, and we are making it happen very slowly, and I'm learning how to ask for what I want, which is for people to go faster.
My readers are waiting.
Oh, everyone's waiting. But it's okay. It's really nearing to completion now, and I'm so excited. So I've been working on that for, I don't know, maybe a year and a half now. So, but that's been happening. And also, I've been working on my book, which is due out in September of 2015, which is, I think, tentatively titled Become a Fearless Knitter, or The Fearless Knitter. And if anybody listening has a vote either way, you can post it in the comments of this blog post, because I'm really on the fence. But, and so that is a book that's for beginner to intermediate knitters, for people that are right after they've learned how to knit, basically. And it's a print book that's going to be sold in Barnes & Noble and yarn stores. And so it doesn't have video, it has photos, step-by-step photos, but
they're amazing. Anyway, can you tell them a little bit about what you did to make those?
Yeah,
your process?
Yeah, I would love to. I definitely wanted, just like how I wanted to make my videos more like what people needed when they were looking to learn the techniques, I wanted to make my step-by-step photos in my book the same way. I wanted to make them so easy to learn from, because a lot of the books out there, they just have a big photo, but they have a big photo that takes up a lot of room, but the hands are small, and the yarn is small and hard to see, and then it has a line of text, and you don't even know which photo it's talking about, and then it has the next photo, and you have to imagine in your head what's actually happening, which is totally counterintuitive, because they're supposed to be showing you what's happening.
So, that sounds like I'm not even reading that book, and it sounds terrible.
I know. And I mean, I learned how to knit out of knitting books, and I know that's just, I think, the way that it's always been done. Photo, line of text, because it's well, how many photos can you put in? Oh my gosh. And I was I am going to put in as many photos as it takes for people just to be able to look at the pictures, scan their eye across the picture and see the movement happening like a stop motion video, or like those old flip books that you used to make. That's how easy it's going to be. They're not going to have to picture it in their head. And I'll, point out some relevant points with words as needed, and maybe it's because I was learning about designing websites and usability and all these exciting things that you can get really right or get really wrong and make the experience really frustrating. And so I decided to apply that to the book too. People don't have time to figure out what it was that you were trying to say. They don't have time to figure out where you put stuff. They only have time to look for what they're looking for. And if they don't get it, they'll move on. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make the book the same way. You open it, you look at it, you're oh, I get it. And that I'll spend a long time on my end making it happen so that the reader can not spend a lot of time on their end, figuring it out. So I'm really happy about how I took 8,000 pictures, 6,000 of which made it into the book. But they're all in they're all together. Maybe I'll put in the blog post, I'll put a little example of what I came up with. Okay, so you guys can see what I mean. But so the photos are going to be great, and I was working hard to meet that deadline in August, and I'm still working on it, on the photo shoots and the putting the actual photos together. So a lot of my time has been occupied with that book and the website, and not so much with blogging and coming out with new videos, unfortunately. But I've been logging a lot of hours in front of the camera.
Well, so logging a lot of hours in front of the camera, but also you're taking pictures of things that you've knitted, right? So to show people in the book what to do. So have you knitted anything like interesting, or are you working on any personal projects that you can tell the readers about that you've liked or that you've taken good lessons from?
Yes. Well, personally, I am always knitting a pair of socks. Always. Like what I love about socks is that if you have the Flegel heel formula, which I can link to in the post, you can, and if you're listening and you don't know how to knit round tubes and you don't know how to knit socks, like, don't worry about this. It's actually not as hard as you think, and I will teach you when it's time. I have classes on it. But it is, it's definitely well within everyone's reach. And I get so many comments of people being like, I can't believe I'm actually knitting socks. Like, I'm so happy, because it's a fun project, and it's like, you think it's a lot harder than it actually is, but you can buy whatever yarn you want and knit socks out of it without checking your gauge or anything, because you just put them on your feet and, like, there's a little formula. And so what I love is you can go into a yarn store and, you have all this impulse, like, I love this yarn.
Yeah.
And so, it happens to people that aren't even knitters. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I know. I have tons of yarn, and I'm like a very beginner knitter.
Yeah. Well, you're going to love my book. But you can walk in and buy the yarn and wind it up and start a pair of socks and, like, just start knitting, and you don't have to think, which is so we went to go see Gone with the Wind yesterday, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be a haul. I need to bring a project, so I brought my socks. So all you need is some, like, soft merino wool that's preferably machine washable. So, but other than the socks that I knit, for myself, to have something to knit for fun, one of the projects that I did for the book, and I can put pictures in the blog post, we wanted to do some, my friend Julia, who has helped, she helped put together the Bind Offs ebook, did Bind Offs until she was blue in the face. She told me, that a lot of beginning books don't have introduced some of the more advanced techniques soon enough. So stuff like knitting with colors or knitting with two yarns, like, gets saved until way later, until people are like, feel like they can't do it because they haven't done it yet or something. And so we decided to put in one of the pretty early chapters, we did knitting with charts and we did knitting with two colors. And a really easy way to knit with two colors is mosaic knitting, where you don't actually have to hold both yarns as you go at the same time. You do one row with one color and then one row with the other color, but it makes a really beautiful design. And so the projects that I designed for the book were all throw pillows, because that's actually really basic. It's just a square, and then you do it yourself, or you go to the upholsterer and you sew a fabric back on and stick a pillow insert in. Right. So it's just something that's more exciting than another scarf or a pot holder. Sure. I don't have any pot holders in the book, or not like dishcloths. Oh no, there is one dishcloth.
Oh no.
Because they're really good teaching tools, like, for some basic stuff, but instead of doing more and more dishcloths, we did throw pillows, and they're these mosaic throw pillows, and they look, I'm so proud of how they look. They look like really advanced projects, but they're like, they're in like the first half of the book, and you learn how to read charts, I think, at the same time. So I actually just finished knitting the actual pillows myself, and they're gorgeous. So I'll post some pictures of how those turned out with this interview, I think. So mosaic is sort of a little known technique, but one that I was having a lot of fun with.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you said you were going to watch, and you said we were going to watch Gone with the Wind yesterday. So tell us a little bit about, like, I know that everyone has seen your adventures in Argentina and elsewhere. So what are you doing personally right now?
Well, right now I would love to say, I'm on the island of Mallorca,
Doing this interview via hammock with a daiquiri in my hand.
Exactly. but no, it's much more mundane. But I am down in Southern California. I'm from Northern California, and everyone who gets my emails can see my little address at the bottom of the emails. But I've been down in Southern California. I was house sitting for my sister, and house sitting her, playing with her cats while she was gone. And then she came back, and I didn't leave. I'm having such a nice time down here with her. She's much older than me, so we don't never live together. And now we're both grown-ups and learning how it is to live together as grown-ups. And I learned how to surf.
Awesome.
I tried to apply my knit formula, which I'll cover in the webinar, to my surf, because surfing is hard.
Yeah.
But I decided to really, after a few months, I decided to make the most of living down here, because I felt I was feeling all alone. And so I learned how to surf, and I also learned about getting out for healthy amounts of sun exposure so that I can have my vitamin D. And so now I'm all tan and
Nice.
surfing. So, and I brought everything with me, my lights, my camera, all the tripod, all the yarn and needles in suitcases. So that's, my sister works, she's in the movie industry, and so she's sort of helping educate me retroactively with movies.
Ah, I see. Okay.
So
What's next on your list then? Do you have one?
Movies?
Yeah.
Camelot. We're supposed to see Camelot the musical next. That's one of her. Yeah.
I haven't seen that either. Maybe I should go with you.
Well, we're going to see it at home. I don't think it's in the theater.
Oh,
this whole Gone with the Wind on the big screen was a special thing. So, yeah, we're doing Hitchcock and, all sorts of classic movies.
Amazing.
Oh, and I learned how to indoor skydive. So,
was it fun?
Just
Yeah.
Google it. Yeah, it's really fun. It's not scary at all. It's expensive though, so I can't really do it very much. But there's been a lot. There's been a lot to enjoy. I learned how to work hard on KnitFreedom and also go do fun things at the same time, so that
That's a
everything
huge accomplishment. I know as a business owner, and I'm sure a lot of our readers can understand that too. It's hard to work hard and play.
Yeah, but I'm getting better at it. So you can't surf all day anyway; it's too tiring and it gets hot. So I'm just doing, my life in little pieces around KnitFreedom and these deadlines that I'm loving the work I'm doing on KnitFreedom right now. Although I want to say that in the near future we're going to be coming out with this new website for all my lovely readers, and then I'm hoping to be able to get back to doing more ebooks and more blog posts. I know people are waiting on me to do classes about sweaters and about lace knitting, and I just have to give that stuff my undivided attention. Otherwise, it's not going to be excellent. It's not going to be up to the standard that I expect and that my readers expect.
Yeah,
So.
That's definitely a KnitFreedom secret sauce is focus.
Yeah, that just. I did this. I don't know if you've heard about StrengthsFinder, probably from the Gallup poll.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
People. Yeah, I did that a few years ago. Focus is my number one strength.
That
apparently,
does not surprise me at all.
called focus. So as soon as I can turn my focus onto lace knitting and it just has to be really good. There's lots of stuff out there about lace, and it's a big topic, and I just want to really break it down in the right way. So it just takes a little bit of focus.
So speaking of focus and where we're going next and what we're focusing on next, we have the webinar that's coming up on October 11th.
Mm-hmm.
And really excited about that. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, I'm going to be teaching some specific things during this webinar and showing slides with pictures and stuff like that. And basically the topic of the webinar is the 3 things that every knitting superstar needs to know. It's the 3 things that I think, what did you ask me? What if you could pick 3 things that you think every knitter should know to become a knitting superstar, what would that be?
Yep.
What were they for you? And should I tell them what they are, or should I wait for the web?
How about tell them 1, and then we'll save the others.
Okay, one of them is attitude, and it also has to do with fixing mistakes. So key. So that's all.
You'll have to come to the webinar to hear the rest.
But it's going to be actual. It's not going to be like this interview with stories and anecdotes and stuff. It's going to be pretty specifically related to learning, to some really good takeaways, some learning tools and things that you can take away and apply to your own knitting.
The way I look at it is like it's a supersized version of one of your blog posts. Like, you know, the very tactical, practical tips that people need to be better knitters.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you for this, and I'm sure your readers will be really happy to hear your voice and hear what you're up to and hear that the new website is coming soon.
Yes, I hope so. If you are listening to this, let me know what you think. Please share with me anything that's on your mind. This is the first interview I've done like this, and it's for you. So please post a comment, or you can also email me, and let me know, and we can continue to connect. And I'll see you next time.
Bye.
You don't think I can take